Okay. Amanda, welcome to the Retail Whore Podcast.
Hi, Michelle. Thank you so much for having me. I'm obsessed with the name of your podcast, and I just cannot wait to see what info we share together.
I am super excited about this. When I met you at UPP. We've had several people on from UPP that I feel like it was such an amazing experience meeting all these strong women that all just came with like their A games to not convention, but this event. And you were one of those people that really stood out. And I follow you on Instagram, and I will tell you, you walk the walk and you talk the talk. Like, you are all about women-owned businesses, money and women, which no one talks about. So I'm super excited to have this conversation with you today. So thank you for making time.
Absolutely. Anytime. Those are all my favorite topics. And I'm always willing to open up, be honest, vulnerable, swear a lot, and have a great conversation with another woman.
You have your store, and it's in the neighborhood. Is it NuLu? That's in Louisville, Kentucky. And it's all feminist-based products. And I have to tell you right now, with the upcoming possible election thing, I can't wait to see the merchandise you put out. But you were no holds bar. Like, when it came to the Roe versus Wade overturning, you guys were out there with your message. Like, it was so important. And you have a podcast, and you also do walking tours of your neighborhood of other women-owned businesses, which I think is fucking brilliant. I mean, I really like, you are so all about promoting other people. And I just think I'm going to cut myself off now, and I'm going to have you dive in and tell us a little bit of your story of how it all started and how all these things came to be.
Sure. I mean, I'm just over here nodding and smiling. And thank you. I do feel like I walk the walk and definitely talk the talk. And it's actually interesting. So I've been an entrepreneur since I was 20 years old. I'm now 33. And so it's been 13 years. I've had 6 different businesses during that time. When I was at Ultimate Product Party, I owned the New Black and Woman-Owned Wallet. And Woman-Owned Wallet was starting to kind of take over the New Black, which the New Black is a sustainable, ethical clothing company where I literally make all the little black dresses out of bamboo materials with an all-female staff for the last almost 8 years. And in the last week or so, I have announced that we're closing the New Black. And that is literally because Woman-Owned Wallet is taken over my life. And after everything that went down with the pandemic and starting this during it, and really finding that every other business I had, I was kind of holding myself back, holding my voice back. And now I'm not interested in doing that any longer. I want to be, cheerful and fun and funny and have funny feminism moments, but also scream it from the rooftops instead of hiding behind my brand. So Woman-Owned Wallet is not scared to chat with you about it. That's for sure. It doesn't mean I'm an expert in everything like abortion rights. I'm still always learning. However, it is important to be able to have an open conversation, and we're ready to do that.
I love that. And I have to ask you because, I know a lot of people have they're when it comes to their business accounts, they're very cautious. They don't want to voice their political beliefs, and which I understand. I mean, it's like it's hard to explain how you feel and what you believe in when there's a lot of people who are ready to jump on you. You're frozen again. Oh, there you are. You're back. The push, have you gotten you had to have pushback, and when you do, number one, I love you that you don't back down and you continue to put that message out, but what does that look like as far as pushback and some of the
man. I've gotten some pretty crazy messages, and there's a lot of death threats, to be honest, and it's pretty frustrating.
Wow.
And it doesn't scare me to still say it. These are just people on the internet. I've never met anyone in person that has, threatened me that way. I definitely get a lot of men in our store who are questioning feminism. And my response is always that feminism is for everyone, and that a lot of guys shop here, and, we can help them in any way. Like, the way that we try to approach it, like I said before, is funny feminism. So I have a background in theater, in singing, in um, just kind of that comedic nature as well. And for me to come out and say all these things that are scary, like talking about Roe v. Wade or something like that, like we're trying to never back down from the conversation, but not have the same perspective as like it's all terrible all the time, like, oh my God. But instead, adding a dose of humor to it and allowing us to kind of laugh our way through the scary situations has allowed us to approach people in a more positive way and almost approach them in a way that they weren't expecting, as well as a way that is where they're at. You know, they don't want to talk about all these things of like, you know, these really heavy topics. Like we're in a pink store. When you're at my store, we're showing off all these funny cards and t-shirts and sweatshirts and mugs and all this stuff. Like we're giving the gift of funny feminism and allowing each other to laugh through the pain, basically, but do
Well,
it together.
I love, you know, one, I love like the message that you're giving, but I also, because it's like everything is super giftable in your store, like everything. And you are in a very red state. Am I not right?
Oh yeah, very red.
I thought.
Louisville and Lexington are the only blue counties.
So the fact that you are selling this message and selling vibrators in the shape of pickles and what are some of the names is fucking brilliant. Like I mean, literally, like as somebody who's been in retail forever, you know, you have a very, I'm all about the curation of product, and your curation of product is so good. And it, you know, from the whole interior being pink inside to your peg fixtures on the wall to the pink shopping cart in your window. I mean, girl, I've gone down your website. I know what your store looks like. And I'm like miss visual, like that's everything that means everything to me. But how all the product plays back into that whole vibe, I absolutely love it. And it would, how did when you first started the store, did it start out like with this message and we're going to be pink and
Yeah, well, when we started the store, it was actually the map that started first. So one of the kind of like marketing techniques that I was using, there we go. I had to just turn up my volume just a little bit. One of the marketing techniques that I was using when I had the new black was actually to create the Woman-Owned Walking Tour, the WOW Tour, because we were off the main drag just by one block. So I didn't want people to miss us. And there was also like free parking right by our space, and parking is hard to come by around our area. So I would be like, start at the new black and then kind of walk around, do all these things. And I knew from being an entrepreneur for over a decade already that there were so many woman-owned businesses because they were my friends. So that was really easy to kind of get started that way. And then in April 2020, I saw this little space available and I was like, I have to call the number and potentially rent this space. There's no way I can afford it. There's no way that it's going to make sense to anybody else. But everything that I've done, I've had to prove it basically to not only everybody else, but to myself. I'm really always kind of challenging myself in new ways. And as I was going through the pandemic and it was starting and I was feeling really stifled, I was like, I'm going to do something cool with this. Like, I think it's its own brand. And I brought it to a few people and they were like, no, 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 like people I love. And I was like, I'm still doing it. Like, if I can get through all these no's of people that I love and that love me and that are trying to protect me, you know, and I'm still this passionate, that's kind of how I know that I should do it still. So when I like walked into the space, or actually when I called, it was an affordable price and it was a female landlord that was an artist and she had owned it for the last 30 years. And I was so excited because I got to meet with her with, you know, with masks on and everything. And I showed her the walking tour. And because she was interested in accepting someone into her space that wanted basically good things for the community, she was willing to let me beat out other people to rent the space because it's in a prime spot. Like I'm for sure. So I literally sat in this gray room with checkered floors and was visualizing all of the pink. I visualized the mural on the wall that says girls just want to have funs. There was literally no other mural that came to my mind. And I visualized all of the shelving and the big pegboards because I've been in retail since I was I don't know, in high school as well. And definitely not the way you're in retail. You're definitely way more fancy. But I've been working in retail and I've been like seeing a lot of like ways to display product, and I didn't like any of them, but I wanted something adjustable. So I made up the shelves and called a woodworker and got them custom made. And I'm still so obsessed with them. And having that big moment when you walk in where everything is going up the walls and like you can see feminist products from the floor to the ceiling, like it's a moment. And I know that it's like exciting and creative, but it just felt so right. And that I've been almost waiting for this since like I had a Barbie dream house, like growing up. I was like, I just have to do it. So I
Yeah,
went for it. And
the shopping cart I love.
thank you. The shopping cart we just put into the window, but I got it all ready for this big event called NuLu Fest, where we had our most profitable, or really my highest revenue day ever as an entrepreneur in September of this year. And I made like a whole backdrop for it with balloons, and I filled the pink shopping cart with disco balls. So it's like really exciting to shop women owned. So that's where it started. And now it's in our window with a bunch of presents in it.
Tell me a little bit about some of the products you sell, because I told you off camera, this will air much after December, but for MC Design Collaboration, my main hustle, I'm doing a blog post on gifts to give and gifts to get. And it's all about like basically what they're gifts that I'm obsessed about and products that I love that I really would rather get as a gift and give as a gift. And there's two products from your site that we listed. One is, I believe the sweatshirt that you're wearing. Oh, it's the other one. It's Women Support Women.
Oh,
In
yeah.
red, and the F-bomb coffee mug from Talking Out of Turn that I love. Like, tell me a little bit about how you've been curating your buys and what lab avenues that you're going to find the product, and because it's pretty specialized. And I know from walking gift shows for years that it's like that, just that specific little window of merchandise. It's not like you could just walk the gift show in a day and find it. You really got to dig.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. I curate and do all of the buying myself. And I really take a lot of pride in that. Like as I look around the store and how everything is kind of coming together, it's just a beautiful thing. And I was even walking it right before our call and just in awe because this is the most inventory I've ever held at one time in a 400 square foot gift shop. I was like, this is a tiny little girl. Like we got her packed all the way to the top. Exactly. I was like, if I'm gonna make another 100 grand this year, like I better pack her full of more than that, obviously, because I need more than that to be able to make the 100. So we're ready to go. And I will say the sweatshirt that I am wearing right now and the one that you're discussing, the Women Support Women, those are both WOW original products. So we are coming out with our own line of products. I've been a product designer for over a decade as well. So now we're finally coming out with WOW originals and really excited about that. You can now wholesale us as well off of Bulletin and from just directly from us too. So that's very exciting. We just launched that last month. And so the products are really interesting. There's a lot of local people that, like I said, I've been an entrepreneur for 13 years. So I know a lot of the local scene of ladies coming up. And because our aesthetic is so distinct and inviting, as well as like the entertainment value that comes from our social media, is not just us selling a product over and over. It's us curating TikToks that you get to watch that are about funny feminism things and kind of playing around with that. So as people come in, they're like, I want to sell, I want to sell. We get, oh my gosh, every day we have wholesale vendors applying to be in our store. And it's actually it makes me kind of sad because I don't have enough space to carry everybody's stuff. But one day I'll have just like a massive Target sized WOW world or something. That would be fun. But I will say, when I got started, I was nervous, especially during the pandemic and with so much like civil unrest that was happening. I mean, there's so much still, but kind of feeling that so heavily. And I'm definitely a very like empathic person. I was nervous that people would walk in and just like yell at me because they did online. So I was like, okay, well, now that they're saying these negative things or telling me to leave my state or telling me really, really disgusting things like online, like that's going to happen in person. So I was a little more risk like averse with my product. And the further and further that I've gone into leaning in to the more just different things, like the things that surprise you and the wow factors is what I call them of the store, are like the better we do. So when I started carrying some pepper spray in the store, people thought they looked like vibrators because it says max strength across the top. And I was like, oh, those aren't vibrators. They're like, oh, I wish they were. So I was like starting to listen to my customer. I was like, oh, they're ready. I was like, had these things in my cart, like ready to go, but I was nervous to take the final step. And then I just started listening to the customers. They thought it was something, and then they got excited thinking that it was something that it wasn't. I was like, okay, we're ready to transition into this. And then even watching simple things like I watched The Principles of Pleasure on Netflix, which everyone should watch. I learned so much about my own body. It was crazy. It's like needs to be what sexual education is in school, but it's all from the female perspective. And we learned that the orgasm gap is actually wider than the wage gap. And as we're talking about money with women, we should also be talking about it in a very pleasurable way. So having these little emoji baiters that look like eggplants and chili peppers and bananas is like a way that you can like carry it around in a way that you can like actually shop a sexual wellness product. And I mean, they're right along with these muff masks that we have. So it's like a face mask, but for your pelvic region. And these biodegradable tampons and liners and stuff. Like there's a lot of product that kind of goes around. And it's interesting because my pegboards in my store, they're all arches. The middle one is a tall arch, and then the ones next to it are slightly smaller, and they go out. So as I get product, I can decide how to merchandise it when I'm buying. So I'm like you, I'm very visual. I love it. And I love to merchandise. I love store aesthetics. I'm into it. So when I buy it, I have 6 pegs that go across my wall. So I don't buy more than 6 of one type of item because I know that it'll fit perfectly on the wall. And I know that customers will be able to shop it really easily.
Brilliant.
And smaller sections like sexual wellness, I put on the smaller boards because then they're all gathered together. They look great. And they are kind of in the back of the store just in case somebody's not quite ready to talk about it. You know, we try to be very inclusive and open with that conversation, but you kind of have to come pretty far in just to make sure that you feel comfortable interacting with sexual wellness products and self-defense products. But in a feminist gift store, those products are needed and they're not finding them other places.
I think that's brilliant. I mean, you are breaking just about every rule in retail. Like really, I think that's, you know, like I said, from the outside and from someone that's been in the industry for so long, it's so amazing to see. I mean, Free People, I think, has dabbled a little bit in the vibrators, but it's true. It's like, it's a conversation that none of us have. And you are literally breaking every rule in retail as far as, you know, the feminism voice and, you know, the kind of pushing back on what normal, and it's success. It's proving successful, which is just outstanding. I can't wait to find out how your holiday season went, because your store is packed full of so many great things. What's your average price point?
So everything in the store is under $60, and it only went over $50 when we added these purses that are phones. You know, I think Betsy Johnson came out with them a long time ago that you can actually plug your phone into and use. It's like a rotary phone looking purse. And then the sweatshirt. So everything else is under $50. So our average order is right around 30. It just depends on what they're looking for. And stickers, I tell you what, those stickers, they also pay the rent every single month. Those little jotter sets from Talking Out of Turn as well, they're definitely one of our best sellers.
What does Christmas look like for you guys?
Well, I definitely made some lofty goals, and I know that, like, I don't know, it's been kind of weird because I come from this like maker mentality. Also, like I was making all of the clothes for every other business that I've ever owned. And so, but then I started to actually have like physical issues from it. Like, you know how pitchers, you know, they're throwing the same pitch every day. Well, I was hand cutting thousands of yards of fabric every day, or not every day, but, you know, thousands of yards of fabric over time. And my like rotator cuff has been torn for years and years and years. And so I'm just, even just the mental idea of like, I don't have to make every item that I'm selling has been like a really weird shift to get over. And even with some of the new Black items that we were selling, like it took me years. I mean, it's been open almost 8 years. It took me years to go from like, I think my first year was like 10,000 to 50, the next year to maybe 100 to maybe 200. And with WoW this year, my goal is to hit 300,000 within just WoW, which we have also owned the new Black all year. So next year, I'm trying to hit 500. So it's just kind of an interesting build over time. And knowing that WoW can outsell like the brand that I had before and the brand I had before that and the brand I had before that, my brain is just saying like, oh, you're just practicing entrepreneurship every day. And what I'm trying to do is make myself proud over perfect. So I'm always going through the motions of, okay, we get to decide how much we make. And I've decided that if we hit 500,000 as a lifetime sales as a company before 2023, I'm taking my entire team to Disney World. So I'm like really excited. So please shop. So I also get to go to Disney World with all of them.
I mean, I love that. I mean, that's a lofty goal considering your price point. That's a lot of transactions. Like, have you figured out how many transactions that is to hit that based on
Price point, yeah, and square footage.
I'm like already like, wow, it's a lot of transactions.
I haven't figured it out. It is. I pretty much know that we're going to have about 100 transactions every Saturday during like a non-peak year, or sorry, a non-peak month. So I'm hoping to get to like 200 transactions or so, maybe 300 on Saturdays. So it's going to be a very busy time.
I'm super excited for you. Talk to me about your podcast, because the information you were sharing with everyone at UPP about women and finances and like really getting very honest and I've talked to somebody else that has said, you know, I've talked to Open to Buy people and I've talked to a couple other people with money, and it's always you people, you know what you spent, but you're not kind of looking at some of the other stuff, so it's not really what you spent. You really spent more, but because you're like, oh, I'm not going to look at that you're actually doing a disservice to you. So talk to me a little bit about the podcast and some of the advice that you have for retailers and what you talk about on the podcast about money.
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing it up, because the podcast has become my new favorite thing. I mean,
I love doing
I'm long-winded. I love it. Let's
it.
go. And I get to use my voice again, which after like a really negative experience I had with like a choir director for some reason in college, I just totally lost my voice and how powerful it can be. And WoW has really helped me get it back and really practice it. So the podcast is all about fostering a positive relationship with your wallet. So it's the idea of more money mindset. I know that there's a lot of podcasts out there that talk about money, how to spend it, how to use it. And honestly, for me, I was listening to those, and because I hadn't changed my mindset around money and how I felt about it every time, I've made every money mistake you can possibly think of in 13 years. I've taken money and not all those decisions were good ones. A lot of them were very, very desperate decisions. So as I move into WoW, I'm like, okay, how do I not bring those decisions? How do I learn from my own past? Duh. But how do I not bring those decisions I made desperately in the past into my future? That's what I'm really trying to separate between these two. Because the new Black, I definitely made a lot of financial decisions that I wouldn't make again. They were mistakes looking back at them, and they're learning lessons, obviously. And so it's just kind of interesting to be able to talk about that openly with people. And the first season, I could barely get anybody to come on. They were like scared that I was going to ask them about numbers and all this stuff. And I was like, listen, you're more than welcome to share. And I'm going to be openly sharing. And I am an open checkbook, as I like to say, instead of open book. But it's just interesting to see now that people are like dying to come on it, because now they've seen that I'm not going to be like hounding you and be like, you shouldn't be doing that with your money. No, how do you feel about it? And if money is truly this energy that we're playing with, and I know a lot of people talk about it that way, what relationship do you have with it? What energy are you putting into it? And are you making decisions out of a desperate place? Or are you finally not avoiding your bank accounts and your wallet, and you're finally addressing it so
Yep.
that you can actually make decisions from a very educated place. And it's, you could still make whatever decision you want, whatever decision works for you. I was talking to my CFO who I just hired on recently, and I was like, oh, I think I overspent for holiday. And she was like, yeah, it's your business. Like, you don't have to like, I don't know, confess to me that you like overspent or something. And I was like, it just felt like the right product and I needed to get it, you know, and we're changing all these rules and all this stuff as you're saying. And she was like, yeah, again, like, we're good. I don't know why you're like confessing this to me. And I was like,
That
oh,
guilt.
this is obviously, I was like, I was going to confessional, just, you know, Father, Son, and Holy, wow, I don't know. So like playing around with even my own money mindset, like, and talking, I'm a very external processor. So talking about as new things come up, new levels, new devils, we kind of talk about that a little bit. And making it like easy to remember. So my money mindset coach and I have episodes where we're talking about acting versus responding. So taking a, you know, reaction's very emotional, very quick, whereas responding is very intentional. And a lot of it is about, a lot of it is like taught all these things in the dark, and we're in this negative headspace with it, like I was in my previous businesses. And I didn't want to bring those into the positive business I have now, but I couldn't jump from a negative place to a positive place. I had to get to a neutral place in the middle first. And actually, I like being in the neutral middle. I like not worrying about my money and I like not overthinking about it. And by getting from that negative place just to neutral and being like, oh, it's okay to just sit with my money. It's okay to be intentional. I'm very intentional. And like, I'm not bad with money. I'm not good with money. I'm just, money's neutral to me. Like, it just felt a little bit less stressful, because if you're making it so positive or so negative, you know, it's like black and white. And I just want to live in the gray area and live my life in a very intentional way and make educated decisions, because I'm able to finally address it. And if I have negative emotions around my money, I'm never going to address it. And
Yeah.
for over a decade, I did that. And I cost myself over $100,000 in just fees, in bank fees and overdraft fees. I wasn't addressing my money over time. And at the end of a year, I was like, oh my God, I paid $90,000 in debt and $10,000 in bank fees. Like, I could have kept that $10,000. Like, what the fuck? I'm not interested in giving the bank more money that doesn't want to give me money, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, that's not the way I want to go about it. So we're talking through it. We're talking mostly, like I said, about money mindset with my money mindset coach. And then I interview other female entrepreneurs and just women about their stories, their money stories, what's influenced their thoughts around money. And then recently I brought on my COO, Adrienne, who's been with me for 3.5, almost 4 years. And when I just promoted her to COO. So now we talk about the sweet life of the C-suite, because everybody's like, what's going on? Wow, like behind the scenes. So we have a little bit different series kind of going on all at the same time. And I do it in seasons. So we just finished season 3 a few days ago. It just finished airing. So now there's, I want to say like 30 something episodes. There's like about 12 a season. And because I'm so busy, I do one in the spring and one in the fall.
Okay. I wonder when did they drop?
Yeah, so in April and in October. So I usually record them in my slow season, because then I have time and then I get them all edited, and then we promote them across the time that they're airing for about 6 weeks, and we do 2 episodes in a week.
Interesting. It's such a different way of doing it. I love it. I
I just couldn't keep up with the weekly thing, and I didn't want to, I just couldn't
hard.
keep up with it. So I was like, I don't need to guilt myself into that if it's not
Yeah.
working for me.
It's definitely challenging. I mean, I love it so much. I'm actually surprised that I'm like, maybe we should do 2 week. And thank God Elisa is the voice of reason. She's like, no, let's keep it to 1 a week, because you have, like, I just finished 2 weeks of doing overnights for my main hustle, all my holiday decor and merchandising for my retail clients. And then I have a 14 store chain specialty grocery store that we do their holiday decor in the middle of the night. And it's not like a little decor. I mean, we're talking like lit garland throughout the entire store, lit wreaths, lit. I mean, it's like major. So yeah, I can understand, because I had all these open times to interview people on it, and I emailed Elisa like 2 days in, can you just take everything off the schedule? Because there's
Yeah.
no way I can. And this is my first interview I'm doing where I'm caught up with sleep and I'm back in my office, because I was like a walking. So I understand not being able to keep up with doing it every week. But I have to say though, this has become one of those things where I love this so much. Like, I feel like I interviewed a lady that had a store in San Francisco that was crazy famous, and she decided to close her stores. It was, I think, a week before 9/11. And
Mm.
she couldn't keep up with it. It was the internet was starting sales on the internet. She couldn't keep up with that, and she just knew it was time. But she's like one of those iconic retailers that when I'm interviewing her, I couldn't wipe the smile off my face, because she's 70 something years old. And the message she was talking was like everything that I love about retail and everything that I started this podcast to share with people. And I literally was like, this is what I'm meant to do. Like it gives me so much joy to do this. And that it's like, okay, I don't care if I've had a long day, as long as I have sleep, I will keep up the weekly thing, because I just like it. I love this so much. But you have a lot. You have 3, 4 things going on. So I don't know how you do it.
Yeah. And there's even more coming.
Ooh, you want to share any?
Well, we did lunch, but I should also say I'm totally like you. If I have sleep, I can do anything in the fucking world. If I have not slept, you don't want to talk to me. Like, I'm not fun.
I
So
hear
I'm a big sleeper and I understand.
tears were involved. I'm just gonna say that.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I had a panic attack last week. Like, it's not, it's not like I don't still have the same anxiety, and like that's who I am. I run on like, let's get this done. Let's prove this to myself. Like I said, I'm like a middle child as well. So I'm like, I just want all the attention because nobody gave me enough. And like, I'm still going for it. But yeah, definitely the sleep is where it's at. But the podcast for me is the same. It just feels right. And again, feels like I can have that voice, screaming from the rooftops, and the amount of positive messages that we've got, that are just things that people aren't talking about it and aren't having the space to feel comfortable saying, oh, I fucked that up. Like, if I can say it and I'm like, yeah, I took $100,000 out of my own pocket 1 year. Like, I've done it more than once, and I don't like that. I don't want to have all the interest payments and all of the overdrafts and the bank fees coming out. Like, I got to make my shit tight and get it together, because why would you want to do that? Take $100,000 out of your own pocket. So if I can admit it first, I can usually get people talking about it, and then they're a little more comfortable.
What I love is that you had said this earlier, is that you have kind of leaned in and learned from your mistakes. And I'm like, I am literally like the poster child for leaning in and learning from my mistakes, because I have made some major mistakes, like a colossal amount of a bankruptcy from closing my stores at Fred Segal. Like, I think I'm one of the only people in Fred Segal that's gone through bankruptcy, and it's like I get to wear that badge. And as horrific as that experience was at 27, I will say this, and I say it all the time, it's like, I wouldn't be here without that. And if I can learn from some of the stupid ass things, the biggest one is humility, and don't be an asshole. Like, the higher you grow in, because being at Fred Segal, it was like you were a celebrity. Like, you dealt with celebrities, but you'd walk into a show and everyone's like, oh, Fred Segal, comfort, come in, sit down. Like, you had your ass kissed. And at 27, I'm not gonna lie, it's like, it's very hard not to take that and like lap it up. I mean, it was, but the biggest, that for me, the biggest was A, don't bite off too much, but B, humility. And like stay grounded, sister. Like, you're just a fucking shop girl, like relax. Like, and that's like, I still say that to myself. It's like, if I feel like you're getting kind of like puffed up, it's like, relax, dial it back.
Yeah, I just have to, I mean, everybody needs to be humbled. You know what I mean? Like, it's all good. It puts you in check. And I think one of the things I have really adopted is I'm not going to guilt myself more. You know what I mean? Like, that is in the past. Those are mistakes that I chose. That was the best choice I could make at the time with the information that I had. And I'm still standing because of it. So that was the best choice for me. And nobody's looking at your bank accounts but you every day. People are like, oh my God, people just know I'm broke. I'm like, bitch, then if you don't want to tell people you're broke, don't. But I'm broke still. Don't worry. Like, we're all just getting through life. Like, you're going to have different seasons of different amounts of money in your bank account. Like, I'm broke right now because there's $150,000 of stuff sitting downstairs in my 400 square foot store. But talk to me in a month, girl. Like, I'm gonna be flush with cash. So thinking about it, and like, there's going to be seasons, there's going to be times, and looking back at everything we've gone through, like, that was the best decision I could make at the time. And even now, like, if I feel something, like I had that panic attack I was saying, I'm in therapy. I'm trying to take care of myself. I'm also trying to become a mother, and like nesting right now in so much of my life. And so there's all these feelings that I'm having coming up about it, you know. I judge myself, like, it only makes it worse. Yeah. So I might as well get it out and be like, okay, this is a feeling that I'm having. That doesn't have to paralyze me from doing things that I love. That doesn't have to change the direction or change the decision I'm making now, because every day I'm being very intentional, and every day I'm not making decisions from a desperate place that are putting me in a more negative situation in the future, which I did a lot. I was like, sure, just borrow more money and more money and more money. And like, I never had a plan to pay it off. So I'm like, I just need a plan. It's not really that crazy. And I mean, even the people on the podcast, like, we've had women that left jobs because of sexual harassment and like started their businesses. We had women that are teaching their kids financial literacy right now. So they're like talking through that with their kids. And I'm like, ooh, what are you saying? Like, I want to learn. And we've had people go through bankruptcies, and they're literally like totally fine. We're all fine. We're all existing past financial mistakes or missteps because we have a better view now, and we can look back on it. And as long as we can just still continue to move forward in our lives, you're good.
Yeah,
you're good. I know I'm going to be an entrepreneur my whole life, and that money is going to be a thing that I have to deal with my whole life, and that I've been taught this narrative that I'm bad with it. So I'm just trying to, like I said, stay in that neutral place, and it'll be good. But anyways, I can tell you about what we have coming up next if you want to know.
Yes.
Oh no.
There you are. Are you there?
So in November, we just launched Wow Media. So we've had a lot of success on TikTok and on Instagram. People love our content strategy and our content creation. And as a visual person, I was really, really loving it as well. And so we launched Wow Media, and we have so many people that are coming to us to help create content creation. That sounded weird, but you know what I mean. Create content and allow them to feel open, feel ready for it, feel excited about it, and not bogged down by it. And I think with our TikTok strategy, especially, like, we're always selling our products, but with that funny feminism kind of aspect, it's just a different way that you don't really feel like you're being sold to. You feel like you're watching entertainment, which you are, because we're just being entertaining. And I don't like dance on there or anything. I know people are like all about TikTok and being a dancing app and stuff. And I'm like, no, it's not like that. It's more, how do we find the audios that really connect with your customer while showing off your product? And if we can do that and make it aesthetically pleasing, then they feel like they're being entertained, and they just want to also own the product. So we get sales every day from our TikTok strategy and our content creation. And we were approached by people that wanted us to do it for them. So I just have been listening to my customer, listening for when she's ready for me to take on new things from her and to help her out in new ways. And that's the one that we've just launched. So we're really excited about it.
That's exciting. So let me ask you, because I know that there's people sitting in their stores thinking and saying, I suck at the TikTok game, but I'm not a feminist. Like, the voice that you give people's TikToks and videos is their voice, not your voice. It's just, or is it a combination of both? Because it obviously works. And, you know, I love your TikToks, and I'm already like, my TikTok game blows. Not gonna, I mean, like, I honestly, because I don't have, a VA does my social media for all the other stuff. TikTok's impossible to do with somebody that's in the Philippines. Like, it's just impossible. It needs to be somebody that's there, that's with you on site. And my little intern will do it sometimes for me, but it's like, I watch yours. It's like, that was one of my questions, is like, how big of a team do you have doing it? And now that you've launched this, what does it look like for somebody that maybe not so ready to, you know, speak her truth or have that be the message?
Absolutely. So the clients that we have right now that are already signed up, one is a wedding design. So she does high-end events. She does the design for them, some coordination. She is not coming out saying that, like, um, you know, she has a very inclusive client, so we do need to speak to them. And she wanted to attract more inclusivity in her brides and in her grooms and in the events that she was planning. So she's attracted to our openness and vulnerability and ability to attract someone without them feeling sold to.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why she was attracted to us. And she just loved our content. And she loved that someone was going to speak to her about social media without like I'm not using marketing jargon or anything. I'm just like, dude, this is what looks good. This is what sucks. Like, fuck that. Let's do this. Like, some people just want to have a interaction with their social media that's not like, that's just not so buttoned up. I'm
Yeah.
not buttoned up. That's not who I am. I mean, I'm definitely like semi-professional. But I mean, we were talking about weed and sex, and we were talking about, you know, different stuff in our conversation, and she's like, "Yes, sign me up." So she's attracted to me and my ability to be authentic, truly. I mean, and I was able to attract someone who was simply attracted to my brand. Now, that does not mean that my brand is her brand. Like, I totally understand, accept, and like, am not pushing my brand on anyone else. But I am pushing my brand in a way that's 5 women that own a wine business. So it's not even that we're only doing product-based businesses or people that want to speak to the camera. What's best for my WOW media client is if they've had a ton of content, you've taken videos for years or even months, and if you can get a lot of B-roll and you can put it into a Google Drive with me, and I can make you look cool, basically. Like, I can find the things that
Dude,
after we have a few
yes. I
conversations,
need to hire you. Seriously.
hire me, girl.
Okay, we'll have a conversation after this, because
Oh, listen, put
I
money
mean,
into this woman's wallet. Let's go.
yeah, I honestly, like I said, I
But
know
the
my,
main thing is like, sorry.
no, that's good.
Well, I was just saying, if you have like an excess of content, but you don't know what to do with it, that's where I think I fit in best, is
Yeah.
because I can look at your content. You're just a little too close to it, is the way I think of it. Don't guilt yourself. Don't judge yourself. I do not do everything in my business. I have 7 women that work with me, and I'm constantly asking for their ideas. You have a real crowd and community of women already supporting you within WOW in general, within WOW Media, within Woman-Owned Wallet, the gift shop, and within our tours. Like, we have a lot of connections, basically, that we can surround you with positive energy, all those ultimate product party vibes. Like, that's kind of where I live all the time. Like, I live in that
I
kind
love
of
it.
bubble.
I love it. I mean, like I said, you've built a community, and you've built a very cohesive brand on all states, which is what I love. Like, literally, like, I'm all about the cohesiveness, and you see a lot of people break off and do other projects, and there's a disconnect, and maybe you wanted to be disconnected, but honestly, like, everything based around WOW is all so incredibly cohesive, and well done. I mean, I gotta say, well done, mama.
Thank you. That's so nice.
Let me ask, I ask everyone the last 2 questions is, all creative people need to get inspired by something. How do you and where do you find inspiration?
Oh my gosh, everywhere. But I would say from women. I mean, at the New Black, every dress I made was named after a woman that inspired me in some way. And I truly believe, even from having a coffee with somebody on, that I admire on Instagram, just inviting them out, I'm kind of always the person to take the first step. So I'm not scared to say, "Hi, I'm Amanda. What's your name? What's going on?" Kind of leaving that open and seeing what exchange we have together. I'm very much about energy and giving that to others and receiving it from others, and just feeling inspired doesn't have to be like a color or a font or whatever, or like a texture. But for me, it's just a feeling of, now that I've had this great interaction, just like I'm having with you, Michelle, like I'm like, okay, well, now I'm ready to go off and do all these things. Or maybe it's just that little bit of working on, like I was organizing 600 sweaters before we started talking, so I'm like, oh, now I can go finish that and I'm not as bad a mood as I was before. Like, oh, these are heavy. Now I'm gonna be like, Michelle's so cool. I'm like, I just got to have a great like break basically and chat with her about all this fun stuff. So for me, it's a little bit of everywhere, to be honest, but not being afraid to reach out to somebody that inspires you in some way and just ask them for coffee, and being open to people are really like my jam. So having that interaction is probably where I get the most, but and not being scared to ask for that meeting basically, and that energy exchange really.
That's why I stalked you. And the last question I always ask everybody is, what piece of advice would you give to new business owners?
Oh goodness, Michelle, that's such a good question. Every time I get asked about advice, it's interesting because people look at me today and they want to be where I am today. And then I have to tell them about the classic, there's no overnight successes, basically. And that's why I usually start with, I've been an entrepreneur for 13 years. I've had 6 businesses, I fucked it up, and I've made it better every single time I opened a new one. So I've been educating and learning from each one. And even the idea, like we just said, you can learn anything from any person that you're interacting with. The same with every business. I've learned something from every experience, every opportunity, and I'm always open for those moments. And I think remaining open and not judging yourself for not being where somebody else is is probably the thing I did the most often when I was getting started that I wish I hadn't have done. And also really working on my mind for taking me and understood where my influence coming from and understood myself more as a human, I would have been a little bit better of a business owner a little earlier and a better leader. I mean, at this point, I've had 80 women work for me over the last 13 years, and I didn't always do it right. But I think what you were saying before about having humility, not judging yourself too hard, and really focusing on your feelings and how you feel about it, because nobody's going to look at your bank account every day but you. Nobody's going to be inside your own head. Nobody's going to be worrying about the things you're worrying about, and allowing a few of those things to kind of roll off your back is it's going to be a little bit easier than focusing so hard on them, especially in the beginning. So that's like 14 pieces of advice. So there you go.
Thank you so much for your time today. I am super excited for everyone to hear this. This will air most likely in March, which I can't wait, because by that point, Wow Media will have already been down the road a little bit. Tell everyone where they can find you, and Instagram, websites, etc.
Absolutely. I think if this is airing in March, then you guys will have already seen all of our um, wow events stuff coming out as well that's starting in 2023. And we're doing event backdrops and balloons and like all this stuff that the other gift shop girlies do. They've all convinced me to do that too. But the actual events that we're hosting is a massive Valentine's Day party here in Louisville. We're having over 1,000 women that we're inviting, and
Wow.
we're going to have the most epic backdrops you've ever seen, really interactive experiences. So as you know, as you're following along, Michelle, definitely try to come. I'd love to see you there. I know you're busy in the beginning of the year,
Well,
but
March is,
February 12th.
that's it starts to open up for me towards mid February. So if I can,
Yay! Maybe on your way back, you know, we're definitely going to do some hotel blocks and some raffles for some hotels. I've already been talking to all the girlies I know in the neighborhood. So it's just really cool. But yeah, you can find me on my website, which is thewoman-owned-wallet.com, on Instagram, woman-owned wallet, or sorry, it's woman-owned.wallet, my bad. We got hacked in like the very beginning and I lost woman-owned wallet, wah. So that sucked, but it's okay.
yeah.
TikTok is woman-owned wallet. So honestly, if you anything you'll into Google, you'll probably find something.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to finally interview you. Like I said, I totally admit that I stalked you, but it was so fucking worth it.
Well, I felt like for so long, especially as I was like figuring out this journey, and I was following you this summer so much after Ultimate Product Party. I was like, oh my God, that's like the job that I dreamed of for so long, because I do love visuals and I do love retail so much. So thank you for inspiring me as well, Michelle. I appreciate you.
Thank you.